So what notebook do we have to
So it's just to write on. I'm giving you paper, so just something to write on. One passenger. All right, so the first 4 questions are for a review, so take a few moments to answer those. Go for it. Again, you're responsible for what you're responsible for. If you miss it, I'm recording it. You can do it tonight. Again, answer the first 4 questions. I'll be checking to make sure you've done that. You'll be turning it in. You only have about 90 seconds to do so. Okay, review before the line. Again, that's why you brought the notebook. You can write on the seat like that, that's fine, but if you have something to write on, that would be helpful. Oh, sorry, here. Bell, could you take one and pass the rest down?
What's the title?
Give you a handout. So you don't need to write anything in your notebook. You're just writing down on a piece of paper. I'm giving you a handout, so you need something to write on. Something to write with. It should be. Sam, could you pass him? That's why you have a notebook, so you can be working up there on the notebook and writing it down. All right. So, if we look at this guy, what's going on there? What's happened to him? Absolutely nothing's happened to him because they just changed the angle of the film. So he's just laying down on the ground. All right, but this is all about perspective. So we've been talking about perspectives for a while. Okay, this idea that something might be different depending on how you look at it. All right. So again, he's just laying down on the ground. So today, there's papers. I put some in each one, and they should be on a desk, a seat, someone. Sam, maybe give one to Vicente too, because there's 2 on that chair. Well, we gotta just hustle in from recess so that we can be ready. All right, cool. So we're going to be looking at the Afghan experience in Colombia today. As we go along, you should be able to answer some of the questions that are on there. And again, pardon me, we'll have a brain dump at the end to make sure you can have some time to understand. All right, so obviously the very beginning of Africans' time in Colombia was not great. Okay, because they were being stolen from their land and brought here against their will. Not a great way to start. Okay, so they were being used as slaves in Colombia. Remember that the main port in Colombia where they brought slaves in was Cartagena. Okay, so slavery did exist here. In fact, El Retiro, I believe, is like the first town in Colombia and maybe even South America to free the slaves. Okay, that's why it's called the Cradle of Freedom. That area, Rio Negro, John Grande. This is a term, mulatto. So mulatto refers to a child whose parents were African and European. All right? So that should be something that you're able to answer. Probably the mother more or less is African and the father's European. That was called mulatto. Mulatto now is not a term used. It's an offensive term at this point. and they'll put the right, or like Sanchez back here, the whiteboard. Great idea. All right. Here we go. So we're going to learn about someone named, I believe he's pronounced that Benkos Bioho. So those are the next several questions. Again, I would wait to answer anything until the end of the 2 minutes, then give you a chance to kind of think about it and talk with a partner.
Benkos Bioho fue un líder de esclavos rebeldes en Colombia durante el siglo
XVII. Nació en el archipiélago de Bahamas en África. Fue secuestrado y vendido por comerciantes y llegó a Cartagena de Indias en el año 1596 a manos del esclavista español Alonso del Campo. Benkos durante su cautiverio huyó en repetidas ocasiones. En una de ellas se dirigió al suroriente de Cartagena en el año de 1599. Allí formó un ejército, el cual se encargó de liderar y dominar los Montes de María. El sueño de Benkos era regresar a Cartagena para poder regresar a África. Con el tiempo, Benkos organizó una red de inteligencia que le permitió organizar las fugas de otros esclavos, los cuales se dirigieron al nuevo territorio, denominado Palenque, en el actual departamento de Bolívar, Colombia. Palenque se caracterizó por ser un sitio donde los esclavos realizaban sus cultos y fiestas, adaptando sus tradiciones. De esta manera, crearon sus propias normas y leyes. La sociedad palenquera creó su propia lengua, integrando palabras de idiomas africanos, portugués y el español. Benkos fue un hábil monarca, tanto así que en el año de 1605, junto con el gobernador de Cartagena, Suazo, establecieron un tratado de paz que reconoció la autonomía del territorio palenquero. Sin embargo, este tratado fue violado por los españoles. Una noche, Benkos fue capturado por la guardia de la muralla y fue asesinado el 16 de marzo de 1621 en el puerto de Cartagena. Benkos tenía una
activa lucha libertadora donde reivindicaba
el derecho a la vida de los africanos y sus descendientes, por el derecho al territorio, a la cultura, a la libertad y a la paz. El después llamado Palenque de San Basilio es ahora un ejemplo histórico, un símbolo de la independencia lograda por los esclavos fugitivos en los tiempos de la colonia. Gracias a la activa lucha de Benkos, Palenque se convirtió en los tiempos de la colonia en el primer pueblo libre de América por decreto real del rey de España en 1713.
All right, we'll watch it one more time so that you can get the answers down. So you should have listened to that one, and now we'll watch it one more. So how many questions are there about the video? Three. All right. 3 or 4? Is there 4? I have 4. So watching this one again, you should be able to answer some of them right now. And then again, kind of focusing in on that information. Afterwards, you'll be able to talk to a partner to see if you all agree.
líder de esclavos rebeldes en Colombia durante el siglo XVII. Nació
en el archipiélago de Bahamas en África. Fue secuestrado y vendido por comerciantes y llegó a Cartagena de Indias en el año 1596 a manos del esclavista español Alonso del Campo. Benkos durante su cautiverio huyó en repetidas ocasiones. En una de ellas se dirigió al suroriente de Cartagena en el año de 1599. Allí formó un ejército, el cual se encargó de liderar y dominar los Montes de María. El sueño de Benkos era regresar a Cartagena para poder regresar a África. Con el tiempo, Benkos organizó una red de inteligencia que le permitió organizar las fugas de otros esclavos, los cuales se dirigieron al nuevo territorio, denominado Palenque, en el actual departamento de Bolívar, Colombia. Palenque se caracterizó por ser un sitio donde los esclavos realizaban sus cultos y fiestas, adaptando sus tradiciones. De esta manera, crearon sus propias normas y leyes. La sociedad palenquera creó su propia lengua, integrando palabras de idiomas africanos, portugués y el español. Benkos fue un hábil monarca, tanto así que en el año de 1605, junto con el gobernador de Cartagena, Suazo, establecieron un tratado de paz que reconoció la autonomía del territorio palenquero. Sin embargo, este tratado fue violado por los españoles. Una noche, Benkos fue capturado por la guardia de la muralla y fue asesinado el 16 de marzo de 1621 en el puerto de Cartagena. Benkos tenía una activa lucha libertadora
donde reivindicaba el derecho a la vida de los
africanos y sus descendientes, por el derecho al territorio, a la cultura, a la libertad y a la paz. El después llamado Palenque de San Basilio es ahora un ejemplo histórico, un símbolo de la independencia lograda por los esclavos fugitivos en los tiempos de la colonia. Gracias a la activa lucha de Bencos, Palenque se convirtió en los tiempos de la colonia en el primer pueblo libre de América por decreto real del rey de España en 1713.
All right. So make sure you have the four answers. Check in with your person sitting next to you, please, and see if you guys agree. Like, look at each other's answers. So Carmen, Oso, Antonia, Maximo, Pedro, Maddie. Let's see, I guess Mariana Candelaria, Isa, and Gabe. There we go. Sam's finding somebody to work with. Toto, maybe, yeah, with Arango. Lucy and Alicia, maybe checking in with each other. Jeannie goes there. You heard it yesterday? Huh? Cramp? Cramps. The cramps up. It tightens up. All right, another 30 seconds. We're going to go over the answers too. Please, yeah. Yeah, language doesn't matter. I mean, I can't read like French and German. And, well, I could probably figure German out. But French is closest to him. No. Niet. I know that's no in Russian. And dos svidaniya. All right, so here we go. You should know he was a enslaved African who fought for his freedom. He always wanted to go back to Africa, but he created a town called Palenque. I believe that town still exists, if you look it up on a map. He helped other people to escape. And he was killed by the governor of Cartagena. Or no, when the governor of Cartagena, not by him. So when. So his goal was never realized. All right, so when we think about the experience of Bencos Viojo, what do you think might be the African, enslaved African kind of thoughts? What do you think they thought about the Spanish? What do you think they thought about maybe being treated fairly? So have a conversation with your partner about that. What do you think Africans in general thought of the Spanish and thought of living in Colombia? Go ahead, share your thoughts. So talk to each other. How do you think they felt? Do you think everything was fair? Did they want to be here? What do you think, Emma? What do you think about Africa? What do you think they thought about being here? Do you think they wanted to be here? They liked it? They thought they were being treated fairly? No, why not? Why would they ever want to do this? Why would they ever want to do that? All right, be sure to thank your partner. Thank you, Emma. So again, just like Emma, can I share what you said? All right, so Emma talked about this idea that, who would actually want to be a slave? So there's no way that the African population was happy about being in Colombia, about being taken from their families, being forced to work, not being paid. And you can even see that by the attempts to escape. So no one would try and run away from something if there wasn't some big problem with it. Okay? So understand that, please. Now, we're going to look at some paintings, I believe, if I got this. Some primary sources. So if you missed out on question number 1, you can add paintings to them. So, this is a painting of a mixed-race couple, right? The Spanish wanted to mix with the others so that they could create, this guy didn't have a Spanish wife available, right? So he needed a wife, he needed someone, okay? So you had indigenous people to choose from, women, enslaved African women to choose from. Okay, so what do we think is going on? Pay attention to the clothes and the position, and I think I asked you to write about it. So, what are your thoughts? What do you see? What do you notice? Just write some ideas down on the note taker. What do you see? Specifically the clothes and the posture. So posture is like where people are positioned. Painting 1. All right, so check in with your partner. What did they see? What do you see? Do you agree? Check in. How can you tell that? Ah, better clothing and stuff too, right? And he's kind of above, and she's kind of like leaning down. Thank you. All right, 3, 2, 1. What you should notice is he's much better dressed than she is, and she is in a position of submission. So she is lowering herself to him, almost like she was like a servant. Okay? They are married. This is their child. But again, what is the painting showing? Is the painting showing equality? No. Let's look at another one. So same thing. What do you see? What do you notice? Painting number 2. Or you say you were here, so I can talk to you now instead of me. All right, again, check in with your partner. Do you all see the same thing? Do you think the same thing? All right, 3, 2, 1. Thanking your partner. All right, again, this almost seems like to be the relationship they're highlighting, right? Because they're looking kind of, he's looking up, he's looking out, she's looking at the man as well. So no one's looking at her. All right, again, not dressed as nicely as the man and over to the right in kind of a submissive posture. Again, not equal, okay? Very important to understand that. Why did they do mestizaje? They didn't have Spanish women there. They wanted children. They wanted to retain power. All right, so this is the third painting. You might have to come up a little bit if you can't see. So the top left is the best possible marriage you can have if you're in South America, Latin America at this time. The bottom right is the worst possible marriage you can have. Okay, in the idea of the person painting this. So what do you notice about the couples and the people within each painting? So write it down. And then you can talk. So again, if you need to see, if you need to look, you can take a closer look. They're all mixed race. They're all mixed race. All right, check in with your partner if you haven't already. What do you all see? What are you thinking about? What are you wondering? Yes. Better?
He's seated in a chair and in the second one, the third one, there aren't even in the house. The fourth one, there aren't even in the house. The fifth one, there aren't in the house.
All right, 3, 2, 1, 0. It's fascinating stuff. It's like if you look at this, what I find interesting is like, I think here you do have a European woman married to an African man, it looks like, right? So then it leads to wonder when was this painted? It was probably later, when you had more Spanish descendants showing up. So this was still a thing, probably still is on some level. Okay, and then as you progress down, the clothes get shabbier. Obviously, we're outside in a hut. We're not inside in a nice house. And then we get down to the worst possible couple you could be is to be two Africans. Again, it's a pretty rough idea probably for people who are African. Right? This idea of being worth less than other people. But remember, that's how things were structured. That's how things were built up. And in some level, there is still remnants of this. Right? Things are not set up maybe fairly for everyone. Mostly now because of money. It's not necessarily the color of our skin that gets in the way for people and access. It's money. And then you look at that and you notice there are some similarities between color of skin and access to money because of history. Right? Okay? The child of this family starts with way more wealth, way more money than the children of this family. And when you have wealth, you have access to things. And then your kids have access to things. And then your kids have access to things. And then this group, they have to work tirelessly to see if they can save any money. Maybe they do. Probably they don't. And so if you never get to a place where you're saving and you have something to give, do you own your house? Okay? They probably don't. So then what are their kids going to do? They get kicked out. They have to work the fields. Okay? How do you accrue? How do you gather resources? It's very easy to gather them if you're born into them. Okay? And then people create laws in which then it's hard. You just really, at the end of the day, want people to have access, equal access to things. You can't guarantee outcomes. You can't guarantee success. But we should be able to guarantee access to people. I think that's something that we need to do. Yeah? Yeah, probably access to food and stuff, right? Again, being bigger was a sign of wealth, so that was a positive. Okay. So there are certain customs and stuff. If you want to talk about South Korea, Finland, Poland, these places have tried to make things more equal based on education. So whoever you are, when you leave a South Korean high school, you take a test. Every senior in South Korea takes a test. Depending on what you score, that's the college you go to for free. So if you get the best score on the test, you go to the best colleges, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from. Sounds like a good idea. They have had some negative consequences because of that, like people with wealth paying for extra tutors and extra test prep, right? So it's still not fair, but it's getting there. Okay? So people are interested in this to try and think, how do we help people move up? Okay, and not be stuck in a cycle of poverty, because it can be very difficult to get out of. Let's take a moment to do a brain dump. So on the back, write some thoughts that you have from the lesson on the back of the paper.